Today we are reviewing the Galaxy S23 Plus, which is the last one in our list. And I think many people will agree with me when I say that the S23 Plus has the middle child syndrome. It's oftentimes ignored and gets left out. It even shares many similarities with the base S23 too. In today's video, we're going to do this review a tad bit differently. We're going to talk about the similarities between the S23 Plus and the S23 base version, and then talk about the differences that I found out, and finally, the value proposition of the S23 Plus. So let's begin. We'll start off with the similarities. The S23 Plus shares the exact same design as the regular S23. The Plus is just slightly bigger, and the colors are also identical. So we have the four colors here: cream, green, lavender, and phantom black, alongside with two more exclusive colors on Samsung.com, which are the graphite and lime colors. With a bigger phone size means a bigger screen too. The S23 Plus comes with a 6.6-inch screen, but the resolution is identical to the S23. It has 2340 by 1080 pixels in resolution and uses the dynamic AMOLED 2X branding, which means 120Hz refresh rate too. The display goes all the way down to 10Hz by the way, and we can also find that out using the Device Info HW app to check the phone's refresh rates. The screen's overall brightness values in different modes are also identical, since Samsung claims all three phones within the S23 series also have the same peak brightness of 1750 nits, and from our tests, yeah, they are all achieving the same max brightness values on every single mode that we've tested. Even the color accuracy is more or less the same as well. Tested at 100 nits of brightness, it can cover virtually 100% of sRGB and DCI-P3 color gamuts with a very similar delta E number with the S23. Skipping forward the software, all phones within the S23 series and even the S22 series right now and the Z Fold 4 are all using One UI 5.1. The features are identical across all of them, so you can watch our other reviews for more details on that instead. I don't want to repeat myself, so yeah, those videos will cover more of those. Then everything else is surprisingly different, even though they share some key specs. For example, the cameras. As you know, the cameras are identical to the S22 Plus as well, and furthermore, the S23 Plus's camera are also identical to the small S23 as well. So when we look at the pictures taken, yeah, they kind of look identical. I'm going to just put all the pictures on the screen here for you to see and compare them with the regular S23. You might wonder that they all look very similar if not identical, but I realized that when we take night shots with a lamppost in the scene, the light streaks are not as crazy on the Plus compared to the base version S23. I have no idea why. This could be an angle problem of which I take the picture, and it could be something else as well. That I cannot confirm what is affecting these light streaks. The selfie camera is the same as well. New 12 megapixel sensor, and it also has autofocusing, so we can take sharp selfies like this. We can also take selfie videos of up to 4K 60fps, so it's great for your TikTok and whatnot. As for the main camera's video capabilities, it can also record up to 4K 60fps or 8K 30fps. And for my test, I mounted the S23 and the Plus onto the jig, so I'm just going to show you the video sample here. To me, the video looks identical to the S23. Then, the performance. The S23 Plus also uses the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, and the performance is kind of weird. You see, for whatever reason, the S23 Plus's render resolution in Genshin Impact at the highest graphical settings is the highest out of the three phones at 1872 by 864 pixels. It's only slightly higher than the Ultra though, but the resulting performance is also very similar to the S23 and Ultra, hovering at about 55 FPS to 60 FPS average, but also dips down to about 50 FPS in certain scenes. It never feels stuttery, and I enjoy the gaming experience overall. And since it is bigger than the S23, the temperature is also better controlled, and it's always below 42 degrees Celsius on all sides of the phone's surface. I really do enjoy my experience using this phone. Of course, the S23 Plus also has the Pause USB power delivery feature as well, and you will need to perform the same ritual that we've talked about before, so watch that video to know how to perform the ritual to summon this feature. Then the battery life. Now, we didn't review the S22 Plus from last year, so I don't have any past data to compare with. However, if we compare it with the small S23 and the Ultra instead, then we can just reuse back the same PC Mark test logged at 100 nits of brightness. The S23 can reach 15 hours in that test. So how is that possible with its 4700 mAh battery? Well, I think that is mainly due to the S23 Plus having the same number of pixels on the screen as the small one, hence the extra power saving that it has compared to the Ultra. The charging speed is also something that we have to use the Ugreen 100 watts GaN charger again, and it takes about 17 minutes to charge from 15% to completion. And the temperature is kind of weird since it did touch 40 degrees Celsius but immediately dropped back down, and then it does the whole temperature control thing by adjusting the charging speed according to the temperature. And a few more things to mention, the Galaxy S23 Plus still uses a USB 3.0 port at the bottom, so we can transfer files in and out of the phone very quickly. Of course, Samsung DeX is also present here, and it also has the IP68 rating as well, so nothing out of the ordinary. What I did realize is that the S23 Plus starts from 256 gigs of storage only, and that means it is using UFS 4.0, and that is why the write speed is identical to the Ultra. The read speed and the RAM speed though are identical across all three phones. And finally, let's talk about the middle child syndrome. The reason why I'm saying this is because the S23 is one of the best small flagship smartphones that are available worldwide, and there is a surprising number of people who like small phones. The Ultra, well, it's the best of everything, so if you want the best flagship that money can buy, then you go for the Ultra. That leaves the S23 Plus stuck in the middle. It's practically just a larger S23 but without the Ultra's flair. If you just want a bigger S23, then yeah, the Plus is very good, it suits you, then just go for it, right? However, I also want to talk about the value proposition and why the S23 exists. If we take a look at the S23 family of devices, the prices of each of the phones are as shown on the screen here. Let's just use the 256 gig storage as a comparison, since I think 128 gigs is just insufficient for today's usage. And as we can see here, there's a huge price gap between the small S23 and the Ultra. So Samsung made a Plus to fit it in between. Again, it is bigger than the S23 but without the Ultra's flair. Honestly speaking, I think that the price of the Plus is appropriate, but I still think it's a tad bit higher because yeah, the price is definitely justifiable, but just for whatever reason, I think that many people will tend to forget about the Plus and really gets talked about because it is stuck in between these two phones. So if you're looking for a new everyday flagship phone without the premium price and the features of the Ultra, then the S23 Plus is a fantastic phone, especially with the battery life. So that's it. That's all we have to share with you about the S23 Plus. It deserves to exist, but it kind of depends on what you're looking for on a smartphone. So yeah, we are done with all three phones within the S23 series, and now we'll wait for the Fold.